In this module, we'll take a look at the CalEnviroScreen tool itself. Briefly, CalEnviroScreen, or CES, is a screening tool based on statewide information that's available at a geographic scale which allows for comparison between communities. The CES module is based on the idea of cumulative impacts. That is, the combination of many types of pollution and the vulnerability caused by physical, social, and economic stresses in communities. Poor communities usually have more sources of pollution nearby than wealthy communities. They often have other problems, such as high unemployment or high rates of asthma, which can cause people to be sensitive to pollution. Census tracts were selected as the basic unit of geography for CalEnviroScreen. Census tracts here are used to represent communities. Census tracts are areas defined by the U.S. Census Bureau and used as standard units for measuring population characteristics. California has about 8,000 census tracts. The size of a census tract can vary depending on how many people live in the area. As you can see from this map of the Los Angeles area, census tracts in cities are generally smaller than census tracts in more rural areas. A national census is conducted every 10 years. Census tract boundaries are determined at that time. Census tracts don't change much from one census to the next. In California, a census tract has an average population of around 4,600 people. Census tract boundaries usually follow obvious features like roads or rivers. CalEnviroScreen was created with certain goals in mind. First, the tool needed to be relatively simple so that the results would be understandable. The model was based on geography, which allows you to look at results on a map and compare communities. The model also needed to include information about pollutants in air, water, and soil. And once all the information was collected, it needed to be combined in a way that made scientific sense. The data that go into the CES model provides information about a type of pollution or a condition in communities. Since CalEnviroScreen is a statewide tool, the information had to be available for the whole state. CalEnviroScreen also relies on information that anyone can access, so data mostly comes from public agencies or websites. Sometimes information is already available at the census tract scale. Other times, census tract scale information is not available, so we needed to figure out how to assign the information to each census tract across the state. The data should also be as up-to-date as possible. The CalEnviroScreen model includes 4 general types of information that are combined to give scores that reflect the cumulative impacts in each census tract. The 4 components are exposures, environmental effects, sensitive populations, and socioeconomic factors. The exposures component are measures of people's potential contact with pollutants. Traffic and pesticide use are examples of ways in which people can be exposed to pollutants. People living in areas of high traffic density can be exposed to chemicals from vehicles. People living near areas of high pesticide use may be exposed to those pesticides. Environmental effects are harmful or undesirable environmental conditions caused by pollutants. Polluted water and landfills are examples of environmental degradation caused by pollution and waste. The sensitive populations component includes the biological characteristics of individuals that can cause them to be especially sensitive to the effects of pollution. Children with asthma and babies born with low birth weight are 2 examples of sensitive populations. Socioeconomic factors are characteristics of communities that can increase their vulnerability to pollution. Poverty and unemployment are socioeconomic factors that are included in CalEnviroScreen. We've seen that the CalEnviroScreen model includes 4 components that capture different factors that can affect communities. In the next module, we'll describe the types of information or indicators that make up each component.